They say the higher you climb, the harder the wind blows, but they don't tell you about the silence. My name is Sophia Vance. 20 years ago, I built 𝐂𝐻𝐺 solutions in a garage that smelled like mildew and desperation. I coded until my fingers bled and ate ramen 3 times a day just to keep the servers running. Today, my name is on the top of a 50-story glass tower in the center of the city. I am worth billions. I am powerful. I am respected. But tonight I am invisible. Tonight, I am just Betty. I looked down at my hands. They weren't manicured. They were shoved into thick, yellow rubber gloves that smelled faintly of industrial lemon cleaner. I wore a shapeless gray jumpsuit that scratched my neck, and a hairnet that pulled too tight. Why was the CEO of a Fortune 500 company mopping her own lobby at 11 p.m.? Because something was rotting inside my company. When you build something from nothing, it's your child. You nurture it. You protect it. But when it gets this big, you lose touch. You sit in boardrooms on the top floor, insulated by layers of management. You only see the polished presentations, the smiling faces of directors who want bonuses. But lately, the whispers had reached even the top floor. Whispers of toxicity, of fear, of a culture shifting from innovation to intimidation. I couldn't find the source from my ivory tower. The reports were all clean. The HR complaints were strangely absent. It was too quiet. So I had to go down into the trenches. I had to become someone nobody sees. Because people say the truest things when they think nobody important is listening. The elevator opened on the 32nd floor. The prestigious Future Leaders Division. This was where we put our brightest interns and junior execs, the golden children. The lights were dimmed, save for one glass office at the far end, the bullpen. I pushed my heavy cleaning cart forward. The wheels squeaked. It was an irritating sound, one I'd never noticed when I walked these halls in my Italian heels. There were 3 people left in the bullpen. 2 young analysts looked exhausted, their eyes glued to screens. And then there was Marcus. Marcus, a 22-year-old MBA candidate from an Ivy League school. His father knew a senator. His resume was flawless. He was the frontrunner for the permanent executive fast-track position. In board meetings, Marcus was charming, articulate, and seemingly humble. But Betty was about to meet the real Marcus. I rolled the cart near his desk, pulling out a trash bag. "Excuse me," I mumbled, keeping my head down, adopting the posture of someone used to taking up as little space as possible. Marcus didn't even look up from his phone. He was scrolling, laughing at something. He took the last sip of a very expensive-looking iced latte, shook the ice, and then dropped the cup on the floor, right next to my foot. It wasn't an accident. The bin was 6 inches away. He still didn't look at me. He just gestured vaguely with his hand, a dismissing flick of the wrist. "Missed," he said, flatly. Then he laughed at his phone again. My blood temperature rose 3 degrees. Sophia Vance wanted to stand up, rip off the hairnet, and fire him on the spot. But Betty just crouched down. "Sorry, sir," I whispered. I picked up the sticky cup, placing it in the bag. "Don't be sorry, just be faster," Marcus snapped, finally looking at me. His eyes slid right over me. There was no recognition of humanity in them. I was just an appliance that had malfunctioned. "And this carpet smells like cheap cleaner. Do something about it before the morning meeting. Important people will be here, not like you," I nodded, backing away with my cart. My heart was pounding against the itchy polyester of the jumpsuit. That was night 1. Over the next week, I became a ghost, haunting my own creation. I saw things that broke my heart. I saw Marcus steal a brilliant marketing strategy from a quiet, hard-working girl named Sarah, presenting it as his own while she sat in the corner, defeated. When she tried to speak up, he gaslit her in front of the whole team, calling her hysterical and not a team player. I saw him berate the IT support staff, threatening their jobs because his laptop was slow, when I knew for a fact he'd spilled a protein shake on it that morning. Every night, I emptied his trash. Every night, I endured his sneers, his deliberate messes, his comments about how people in my position should just be grateful for the air conditioning. He was a cancer, and he was growing on the healthy tissue of the company I loved. The hardest part wasn't the insults to Betty. I've handled worse. The hardest part was realizing that my success, the platform I built, had given power to someone like him. I felt guilty. I felt responsible. The breaking point came on Thursday night, the night before the final presentations where the new junior executive would be chosen. It was 2 a.m. Marcus was frantic. His final projection model wasn't working. He was screaming at his laptop. I was near the kitchenette, polishing the coffee machine for the third time, just watching him. He stood up, pacing, running his hand through his perfect hair. He saw Sarah's desk. On it sat a framed photo of her family, her parents, smiling proudly outside a small, modest house. Marcus walked over, picked up the photo, and sneered at it. "Pathetic," he muttered. "Mediocrity breeds mediocrity." Then, in a fit of childish rage over his failed spreadsheet, he swiped the frame off the desk. The sound echoed through the empty floor. I gasped. I couldn't help it. I dropped my polishing rag and hurried over. "Oh no," I whispered, kneeling to pick up the broken glass and the photo. "Sir, you broke her—" Marcus spun on me. His face was contorted with a grotesque mix of stress and entitlement. "Don't touch that," he roared. I froze, holding a shard of glass. It cut slightly into my gloved palm. He stepped closer, towering over me as I knelt on the floor. "You think you can judge me? You think you matter?" His voice was low now, venomous. "Look at you, cleaning up other people's messes at 2 a.m. You're nothing. You are the dirt I scrape off my shoes so I don't ruin the Persian rugs in the office I'm going to have tomorrow." He leaned down, his expensive cologne clashing violently with the smell of floor wax. "Leave the glass. Let Sarah clean it up. Maybe it'll teach her a lesson about clutter. Get out of my sight before I make a phone call, and ensure you never push a mop in this city again." I looked up at him. For the first time in a week, I looked him dead in the eyes. "You're right," Betty said, her voice surprisingly steady. "I'm just the cleaning lady." I stood up, leaving the glass, but carefully sliding Sarah's undamaged photo into my large pocket. "Good luck tomorrow, Marcus," he blinked, momentarily thrown by my use of his name, but then laughed. "Luck is for poor people, Betty. I have destiny." I walked away. I didn't take the service elevator this time. I took the main executive lift to the top floor. I walked into my personal suite, the one with the panoramic view of the city lights. I ripped off the hairnet. I peeled off the rubber gloves, my hands shaking not from fear, but from adrenaline. I went into my private bathroom and looked in the mirror. Sophia Vance stared back. Her eyes were harder than they had been in years. "Destiny," I whispered to my reflection. "We'll see about that." The auditorium was packed. The entire executive board was there. The final 6 candidates sat in the front row, sweating in their best suits. Marcus looked pristine, rested, confident. He owned the room. I was backstage, watching on a monitor. I wasn't Betty anymore. I was wearing a tailored black power suit, my hair pulled back in an immaculate, severe bun. I wore my diamonds. I looked like $1 billion. But on my wrist, tucked under the cuff of my silk blouse, I wore a cheap, gray rubber band that I had used to tie back my hair as Betty. A reminder. Marcus took the stage for his final presentation. He was brilliant. I had to give him that. His charts were flawless. His projections for the next quarter were aggressive and exciting. The board members were nodding. They were hooked. Then he reached his conclusion. "In summary," Marcus said, his voice smooth as silk, "𝐀𝐞𝐲𝐬𝐧 needs leadership that isn't afraid to cut the dead weight. We need to prioritize efficiency over sentimentality. We have too many people here who are content with mediocrity, who don't understand the drive required at this level. I am that drive." The applause was loud. He basked in it. He looked like a king crowning himself. The head of HR stepped to the microphone. "Thank you, Marcus. An impressive presentation. Now, before the board deliberates, we have a surprise. Our founder and CEO, who has been away on a special project, has returned to personally conduct the final interviews and make the selection. Please welcome Ms. Sophia Vance." I walked out. The silence was absolute. The click of my heels on the hardwood stage was the only sound in the room. I didn't smile. I walked to the center podium, ignoring the hand offered by the HR director. I looked out at the audience, and then, slowly, I turned my gaze to Marcus, who was still standing by his presentation screen. His confident smile faltered. Confusion clouded his eyes. He recognized me, but his brain couldn't process the context. He was looking at Sophia Vance, but somewhere deep in his lizard brain, he was seeing Betty. "Ms. Vance," Marcus stammered, "an honor to finally—" "Is it?" I interrupted. My voice was amplified by the microphone, crisp and cold. I didn't look at the board. I kept my eyes locked on him. "Marcus, your financial models are excellent. Your ambition is clear." He puffed up slightly, his confidence returning. "Thank you, ma'am. I strive for But," I cut him off again, "your data input regarding human capital is tragically flawed." The room murmured. Marcus looked confused. "I don't understand." I reached into the pocket of my expensive blazer. Slowly, deliberately, I pulled out a crumpled, slightly stained yellow rubber glove. I dropped the glove onto the podium. It made a pathetic, squishy sound. Marcus went pale. His eyes widened so much I thought they might burst. The blood drained from his face, leaving him gray beneath his expensive tan. "You said something to me last night, Marcus. At 2 a.m. Do you remember?" He couldn't speak. His mouth opened and closed like a fish on a dock. "You told me that I was nothing, that I was the dirt you scrape off your shoes. You told me that luck is for poor people." I turned to the board of directors. Their jaws were on the floor. "For the past week, I have been cleaning the floors of the 32nd floor. I have emptied your bins. I have wiped up your spilled coffee." I turned back to Marcus. "You didn't see Sophia Vance. You saw a uniform. And because you saw a uniform, you thought you saw a victim. You thought you saw someone without power, and therefore, someone without value." I stepped out from behind the podium, walking toward him. He actually took a step back, terrified. "You broke Sarah's family photo because you were frustrated with a spreadsheet. You stole her work. You terrorized the IT department. You have treated the people who make this company run like they are beneath your notice." My voice rose, vibrating with the anger I had suppressed for a week. 𝐀𝐞𝐲𝐬 Solutions was built on the backs of people who work hard when nobody is watching. It was built by people who respect the janitor just as much as the director, because they know that every single gear is vital to the machine. I stopped inches from him. "You are arrogant, Marcus. You are cruel. And you are exactly the kind of poison that kills great companies." Marcus finally found his voice, but it was a pathetic whine. "Ms. Vance, please." I was stressed. "I didn't know it was you. If I had known." "That," I whispered, "is exactly the point. You only treat people with decency if you think they have power over you. That isn't leadership, Marcus. That is cowardice." I turned my back on him. "You're fired. Get out of my building, and don't forget to take your trash with you." The silence in the auditorium was heavier than before. It was thick with shock and sudden, terrifying self-reflection. Every manager in that room was suddenly replaying their own interactions with staff over the last year. I walked back to the podium. I was shaking again. This wasn't a victory lap. It was a tragedy that it had come to this. I reached into my other pocket and pulled out the photo of Sarah and her family. "Sarah Jenkins," I called out into the audience. A terrified-looking young woman in the third row slowly stood up. "Sarah, your marketing strategy for the Q3 launch was brilliant. Marcus presented it well, but I recognized the syntax. It was yours." Sarah started crying, nodding silently. "Come see me in my office Monday morning. We have a junior executive position to fill, and I prefer people who build things over people who break them." I looked out at the sea of faces. My company, my family. "Look around you," I said. "Look at the people sitting next to you. Look at the people serving coffee in the lobby. There are no little people here. There is no dirt on your shoes. If you want to lead in this company, you serve. You lift up. You never, ever punch down." I picked up the yellow rubber glove from the podium. "I'm keeping this," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "It's going to hang in the boardroom, a reminder to me and to all of you. Never forget where you came from, and never forget who is really keeping the lights on." I walked off the stage. The applause that followed wasn't polite. It was thunderous. It was real. I went back up to my office. I stood by the window, looking down at the city. I felt exhausted, drained, but clean. Cleaner than I had felt in years. I pulled the cheap rubber band off my wrist and set it on my mahogany desk next to my awards. The wind was still blowing hard up here, but the silence was gone. I could hear the heartbeat of my company again, and it was strong. True power isn't about who you can crush, it's about who you can lift up. Revenge isn't always about destruction. Sometimes, the greatest revenge against darkness is simply turning on the light. If you believe in justice, if you believe that everyone deserves respect, no matter their job title, and if you want to see more arrogant bullies get what they deserve, subscribe to Revenge Beyond Love. Like this video, and share it with someone who needs to remember that the quietest people often have the loudest voices.